Always good to spend some time with Flames assistant coach Ryan Huska, who joins us now, one up, one down. And here we are 3 days into camp. I know you guys have spent so much time preparing for inevitably what this camp would look like, a few different options. But so far, what have you made of the first 3 days of on-ice sessions here in two groups?
We feel like it's been very good. I mean, sometimes you always come into camps and you're looking to see, one, if everybody's in shape, two, if they're all competing hard, if they're taking it as seriously as you would hope they would all the time. And we were talking in between sessions today that we've been pleasantly surprised with how everybody's come back and how committed they are to trying to do things the right way right from the start. So it's been really nice for us to be a part of this, and it's nice to see how, I guess you can say engaged is probably a good word, our players are. They're really dialed in right now, and for it being training camp, a little different training camp, of course, we're pretty proud of that and pleased with their efforts so far.
Is part of that knowing just how little time there is before you're dropping the puck for real here and just the sense of urgency that has to be in place?
I think that's a big thing. And I think they realize that the start's really important, and people have made a lot of mention of it to this point. You want to get off to that good start so you're not chasing for a shortened season. And I think that's so important for our group to understand. And the leadership that we do have in our room, they understand it, and they're the ones that are driving things, which is pretty cool to see. So Gio, Michael Backlund, Luch, your typical guys, but now you can throw some of our older guys in there, or now older guys like Amani. They're driving the bus, and they make sure their sessions are competitive, and they know the importance of what it's going to be for us to get off to a good start. And you can't guarantee wins, that's for sure, but you can guarantee your effort. And make sure that your compete is there all the time. And if that's on the right side of the ledger, more often than not, you're going to give yourself a chance to win and get some points early.
Well, we were just talking about how many of the guys were here either back in October or at least over the last month or so skating together. And I think it was Jeff before camp started talked about how, maybe that's a certain maturity level from this group, just knowing what's at stake and how to go about it. I mean, have you kind of seen that same thing and just in terms of, the approach, whether it be back in the fall without knowing when things were starting up to, the preparations over the last month or so here?
Absolutely. And it's not just from the guys that you would think that are always dialed in, like Mark or Luch, our older players like that. You start seeing other players that, whether it's the turning of the clock, they just start to mature and they understand really what's important and what's not. So instead of maybe having, staying up a little later, and whether it's playing Xbox or whatever they play now, or going out when the restaurants and stuff were open, now they're a lot more dialed into what they have to do. They're a lot more dialed into how they take care of themselves to make sure they're ready to play. And thinking back to the way it was when we first opened the building here again in Calgary, and I don't even remember when it was. It feels like forever ago.
No kidding.
In October at some time. But they worked right from day one. The small little groups that we did have here, they were very committed when they came in, and they made it enjoyable, to be around. Every once in a while, coaches would float into the rink, and you see how hard they were working with our fitness crew. It was pretty cool to see.
Well, we have the one milestone of getting back on the ice for the first time in an official training camp setting, and then the other one being the first inter-squad game or first game-like situation. Knowing, as we talked about, how tight the timelines are, how important is that first test here tomorrow night?
Well, I think it's going to be much like we saw before we went into the bubble. They understand the importance of it. We have no exhibition games, so these are our games, whether that's for our staff to make sure that we're figuring things out and getting ourselves back into the rhythm of things. Jamie Pringle, our video guy, it's critical for him too. So this is something that's important for everybody, and you're not going to win or lose a job in a game like this, but making sure your habits and details are at a level that are going to be required when we open the season in Winnipeg, that's what's important. So from what we've seen from our group so far in these first 3 days, we have full expectations that the intensity is going to be really good tomorrow. I think they're going to play hard against each other tomorrow, within reason, of course, because they're your teammates, but we're expecting a very competitive game, which will be a lot of fun to watch.
Does that mean we're going to see a one or two challenges from Jamie just to get warmed up?
Let's hope not. He's excited about the new offside rule. It takes a little bit of stress out of his life.
Yeah, for sure. There you go. Just quickly, I wanted to ask you, we've seen some special teams work over the last couple of days, emphasis a little bit on the PK too, just being able to work with some of those pairings. I mean, we've seen some of them intact, but you also have some new faces who specialize in that as well. What are you trying to look for here in the early part on the penalty kill?
Well, some it's chemistry for sure.
Yeah.
You want to see if certain guys can read well off of each other. I mean, we have a lot of Swedes that are very good penalty killers right now. So for me, that's a natural thing for them that they get an opportunity to play together and see if they can really do a great job for us. There's a few new changes that we've brought in, nothing major, but there's subtle little differences, and it's nice to be able to have an opportunity to focus on penalty kill early. So they have that idea as to what we're looking for and how we expect them to compete as we move forward. There's always so much attention put on the power play, and most of your practice time is geared towards that. So when you get an opportunity to make it your penalty killers' roles and responsibilities, that the focus is on them, these are really important days for us as we move forward, because a lot of times you don't get that opportunity with them in practice. More of it is done via video and small group meetings.
Well, just one more for me, and that's I know obviously working closely with the defenseman, and we've seen some changes there in terms of pairings and what it might look like. I just want to ask you, briefly about a guy like Rasmus Andersson. You talked about some of those younger guys maturing. I wonder if he kind of fits that category, and just what you saw. I mean, he spent the whole off season here in Calgary working with that group. What do you expect, and what do you see as a ceiling for a guy like Rasmus Andersson here?
Myself personally, I have high expectations for him. I was fortunate to be around Raz or work with Raz, whatever you want to call it, when he first played in Stockton. And from where he was then to where he is now is night and day different. And it's something we're really proud of. All the development guys in the organization spent a lot of time and a lot of hard work with him, because you know the type of player that he was capable of being. And for the development staff led by Brad Pascal to put in as much time as a bunch of people have with him, to see him kind of come into an area that we think he's just the tip of the iceberg right now, it's pretty special. It's nice to see. So he's going to be challenged each and every night. We expect him to be in all key situations, and with high expectations there comes a lot of responsibility as well. And I think we think that he's mature enough now to handle that and be a guy each and every night that can be a difference maker for our team.
Well said, as always, Coach. Appreciate the time, and look forward to catching up as training camp rolls on.
Thank you, Parksy. Take care.